According to the 2017 ACLU article, there are approximately 185 needle exchange programs operating nationwide. A needle exchange program, or an NEP, is a social service that allows injecting drug users to obtain needles at little or no cost. These programs date all the way back to the 1970s. The program was originally enacted because of the outbreak of AIDS, which motivated the program tremendously. The countries that have used this program include Australia, Brazil, Canada, Czech Republic, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Portugal, Spain, Switzerland, the United Kingdom, Ireland, Iran, and the United States. Since the inception of the needle exchange program, there has been a lot of controversy surrounding the effectiveness of it. Some think that the program encourages drug use, but on the other hand, others believe that the program lessens the rates of human immunodeficiency virus, or HIV. So we'll be discussing how effective the program has been in the areas where it has been implemented.
The needle exchange programs are basically vending machines for sterile needles. Needle exchange programs allow addicts or drug users to anonymously trade in their dirty needles for clean ones. These programs provide sterile needles to individuals who inject drugs. The ultimate goal of these needle exchange programs is to reduce the transmission of HIV and other blood-borne viruses. These machines have legal restrictions for individuals who are under the age of 18, according to avert.org. The same site states that funding for needle programs are inadequate largely due to the lack of political support. These programs can also be found to provide other equipment to prepare for the drug administration process. The majority of these programs are run by drug services or pharmacies. According to staff at NKTNV, as of April 12, 2017, the first needle exchange program in Southern Nevada has been launched. Individuals who choose to use the needle exchange vending machines are required to register these actions, not necessarily with their name, but as a form of identification so they can only receive the certain amount each week. Once registered, these specific individuals are limited to 2 boxes per week. These programs are also equipped to safely dispose of the used needles. NKNV staff says that these programs can serve as a gateway to services and care individuals may not access to otherwise. These services can be referred to as healthcare, substance abuse counseling, treatment, and many other services. There are currently 16 states that have laws authorizing the needle exchange programs. Many programs both open and close due to the lack of federal funding.
The needle exchange program creates an unhealthy normalization of drugs and is ineffective. According to a 2017 article, The Pros and Cons of the Needle Exchange Programs by Your First Step, taxpayers are paying for the increased addiction and dependency on the drug that the person has instead of the action to stop the person from using said drug. This is not solving the problem necessarily. This is just a way of them appeasing the issue. These vending machines also creates an unhealthy normalization around drugs because it creates the illusion that using drugs are safer than it actually is. It also creates the mentality that having the government to take care of you by breaking the law like this is an okay and acceptable thing, when in reality, using drugs is still very harmful. Having these machines around in the community also creates psychological effect of children as seeing these machines as a normal thing, so drugs must be a more normal thing and an acceptable thing to do when it actually is not. Stated in a 2017 article by Dr. Chris Elkins called The Benefits and the Risk of the Needle Exchange Program, around these said vending machines in community, there has also been increased spikes of crime, and also from implementing these vending machines, increased infections in drug users are being seen since they inject more. Implementing these machines in reality is seen as making it safer when no part of using illegal drugs are safe. And with the government backing up these programs as a slight okay to use drugs is simply anarchy, because if we could choose which laws we'd like to follow and which laws we don't, that is anarchy. So in point, it is not healthy for the psychological effect on children or the increased crime rates in the community.
Having needle exchange programs is a good thing and better for the community. Rather than having people spread transmitted diseases, the needle exchange program is helping communities lower the number of contaminated needles found in the community. According to drugrehab.com, Chris Elkins says in the article, Benefits and Risks of Needle Exchange Program, that there has been numerous amount of communication being increased with these hard-to-talk-about situations. No, needle exchange programs are not designed to give support to the people who use the injected version of drugs. The program is mainly there to prevent the passing and receiving of deadly diseases. Many of the needle exchange programs now offer counseling services and referrals to the people who need help to stay away from drugs, better known as addicts. These services being located within the program have helped the addicts go into rehab. Elkins stated that the studies from a journal called Aid Science published a review of needle exchange programs in 2001. The review reported 7 studies associated to reduce the number of people being infected with HIV, hepatitis B, and hepatitis C. There were 3 studies that included confirmation that the program can condense the amount of needle sharing between people. Also, 3 studies had statistics mentioning the growth in numbers for entries in drug rehab programs. Elkins gave studies from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in 2016, saying that over 9% of the numbers of drug-related behavior and infectious diseases have declined in recent years. Overall, needle exchange programs are a good thing. They are safer for communities. Needle exchange programs are trying to be helpful by having a way to prevent infectious diseases such as HIV, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and by getting addicts to rehab.
Despite the tremendous amount of support for the needle exchange program, some still argue that this program is far from helpful. These people argue that providing injection users with clean needles, they aren't actually addressing the problem that many addicts face. According to Sam Savage's article titled Why Needle Exchange Program is a Bad Idea, he claims that giving clean needles to addicts is no way to help solve the drug problems that plague our society. Needle programs only help drug addicts stay high. Savage disregards the idea that clean needles slow the spread of infections such as HIV, hepatitis A and C. He rather argues that providing clean needles are inherently destructive. They address only one symptom, but give the illusion of solving the multi-pronged drug addiction problem. Not only do needle exchange programs create an illusion of solving drug problems, but they also seemingly encourage the use of these drugs. Needle exchange programs are a place that addicts can come and feel safe. According to Tiffany Hatcher's article titled Needle Exchange Programs, Helpful or Harmful, she stresses that needle exchange programs could also portray to the community that illicit drug use is accepted as long as the clean needle is used, thus increasing the number of potential injection drug users. In an effort to make a safe setting for these addicts to take part in the needle exchange program, Tiffany Hatcher claims that law enforcement in those areas is discouraged, which potentially forces local police to ignore illicit drug use. It's also believed that needle exchange programs lead to the increased crime rates and incidences of dirty syringes improperly disposed in streets and parks and throughout the city. Nevertheless, opponents will continue to argue about the dangers they believe are associated with these needle exchange programs.
In conclusion, we discussed how effective the needle exchange programs have been in the areas where it has been implemented. Some of the main points consisted of when they first came to the public's attention, what the contrary beliefs regarding the NEP were, and we talked about some of the pros and cons of the needle exchange program, I hope that we informed you about the needle exchange program. Thank you for listening to our speech.